Hello everyone and welcome to Community Connection, your window to the world around you. My guest today is none other than Wayne County Airport Authority's Police Chief, Mr. Edward Glomb. Thank you for being with us on Community Connection.
My pleasure.
You have done so much within your career, and we are so excited and so proud and honored to have you at the realm of Wayne County's security. And dealing with the airport and dealing with Romulus and dealing with all these other security issues is a huge responsibility, and I know that you're up for it, and I want to talk about your experiences and what you've done. You've served as president of Wayne County Association of Chiefs of Police, the whole 9 yards. Talk to us about your experience and really your chronological order and how you got to the airport and being the head honcho of our security system out there.
Okay, well, you know, you say I've done a lot. Well, I've been around a long time, so.
Well, a lot of people have, and you know, I mean, they don't have too much to show for, but you have an amazing, amazing history.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I spent 4 years in the service, and when I got out of the service, I went to work for the Sheriff's Department, Wayne County, and I worked for Wayne County about 10 years, mainly in the narcotics section. I left Wayne County Sheriff's Department as a lieutenant. I was very fortunate, and I got promoted up through the ranks rather quickly, and I took the chief of police job in Franklin Bingham Farms, and I spent a long time there. Then the airport position came up.
About 9 years in Franklin?
Yeah, I've been at the airport now for 9 years, and it's gone fast. I had really expected only to stay there 4 or 5 years.
Really?
And here I'm starting my 9th year in August. But I knew a lot of people from the Sheriff's Department. You know, you law enforcement, you keep those contacts. You never really lose those contacts. And so I've been at the airport for 9 years, and it's a very interesting position, but a very demanding position. Airport's a busy, busy place.
Absolutely. What does your day look like?
Well, you never really know what the day is going to look like. You know, after 9/11, you know, airports have become the real security area that that everybody looks at.
Absolutely.
Well, we work very closely at the airport with a number of different agencies, especially the FBI, Customs, the Federal Air Marshals, TSA. You know, so there's just so many different facets of the airport. You know, we've got roughly 5,000 employees at the airport. We're basically a decent-sized city. People really don't realize that, but we have 25 liquor licenses in the airport. You know, that's more
in the actual facility of the
airport?
In
the actual facility of the airport.
Wow.
The terminals now are...
It's a good place to hang out, huh?
Yeah, the terminals now offer world-class shopping, world-class dining. You know, so the airport is really a city within itself. And we have roughly 32 million, 33 million people that go through Metro Airport every year. So it's a busy, busy place, and naturally we're very, very concerned with security.
In terms of the years that have passed and pre 9/11 and post 9/11, a lot of the security measures have completely changed. I remember being able to go to the airport and dropping somebody off and going right to the gate and waiting with them until they actually physically got on the plane. And now, you know, everything has just changed. The whole, you know, climate and the whole the atmosphere and the landscape, basically, too. With your experience, do you think that those measures that have been put into place have really made a difference in security? I mean, I'm sure that they have, but on a larger level, what are the changes that you have seen, and what are the major changes that have been made within security measures at the airport?
Well, I mean, there has been a drastic change to the times that you're talking about. I remember people used to go out and park alongside the road and watch airplanes, and I mean, it is just a totally different world now. since 9/11.
Sure.
And, you know, knock on wood, thank God, in a lot of hard work, we have not had another 9/11. And, you know, that's just something that we could never let our guard down. We had the incident in 2009 with the underwear bomber on Christmas Day.
Yes.
I spent my entire day, Christmas Day, at the airport that day. And that involved a flight coming in from Amsterdam that didn't have the same security procedures as we have here in this country. And we were very, very fortunate in that incident that was not a major problem. So, you know, it's a whole new world out there, and I think it's a absolutely better world, especially for the traveling public. I mean,
in terms of safety.
Yeah, it's not always convenient.
Sure.
You know, we do get our share of complaints, but it's just something that we all have to work together on, and I think we've all done an excellent job.
Absolutely. Do you feel people are willing to cooperate and willing to adapt the new procedures, and do you find people saying, wait a minute, you know, why do I have to do this?
Now, you know, really 99.9% of the people realize, you know what the procedures are for, and we really get very few complaints. There's always going to be a couple of people that are going to cause you problems. You know, that's just the nature of the business. That's why you have police, you know, because of the small percentage of people who just don't use their heads and end up in a confrontational situation with us.
You know, the X-ray, the scanner, there's a lot of controversy about that in terms of privacy and what have you. And I remember, you know, flying a few times. They said, put your heads on, you know, fine, whatever. I mean, you go through the process. But do you find people are a little bit less willing to go through, knowing that, you know, their entire body is showing to someone? I mean, to me, I tried not to think about it, but you know, you go through the motions. But what kind of conversations have you had about that?
Those scanners have you know, been advanced since they first come out. So you no longer see what a lot of people thought that you were going to see to begin with.
That's good to know.
Yeah. And you know, there was more media attention given to the people objecting about the scanners. I remember when they first came out, we had a demonstration at the airport of people who, you know, were contesting the scanners, and there were 2 people there. And at the airport, that's all it was there. We're 2
Wow.
people, because I had people on overtime and everything because we were expecting a big
huge crowd.
and there were actually 2 people there. And unfortunately, the media interviewed those 2 people. I mean, they were the only 2 people there. And I cannot remember the last time that we had a complaint about somebody going through the scanner. I mean, it's literally been you know, a couple of years. And if that scanner would have been in place in Amsterdam, that scanner would have picked up on that underwear bomber.
Yeah.
I mean,
I really think that you know, you do lose a little bit of your privacy, but I think gaining that sense of security is immense. And if you look at everyone walking through that, you know, you're sort of guaranteed that you feel comfortable, you know, proceeding into the airport. But there's a lot of people who forget stuff on them, who forget things in their bags. And you were just telling me earlier somebody had flares in their bag. How do you deal with things like that?
well, TSA is responsible for all the baggage checks. You know, when you come into the airport and you go through security, that's TSA's function, is to x-ray all of the bags and check all the bags. If they have a problem, then they call us, because, you know, TSA doesn't really have any arrest powers, so it's up to us to come and investigate, and then if we determine there's going to be an arrest. But you would be amazed at what people bring through these checkpoints. And, you know, for instance, last year we confiscated 26 handguns at the checkpoint.
Unbelievable.
Now, the great majority of those people were all, you know, CPL holders. You know, they were, you know,
Sort of legal
entitled to carry those weapons, but not at the airport. And just last week we had one individual. He came in, he checked everything. You know, he got in line to go through security, put everything in a bin, and he forgot he had a gun in a holster attached to his side. And he was a CPL holder, he was 70 years old, going to a family reunion, and walked through security with a gun on his side.
So tell me what happens to someone like that.
You know, like I was telling you earlier, it's, you know, if you come through with a dangerous weapon through the checkpoint, you're going to be arrested, and then we'll take you back to our station and we'll sort it out. You know, we'll sort it out then. But you are going to be arrested if you come through the checkpoint with a dangerous weapon.
And that's a record arrest in the whole 9 yards. So there's no, well, come on, let's talk about it.
Oh, no,
You're
no,
arrested.
yeah. There is no talking about that. I mean, you are coming to our station. You're being placed in custody, and you're coming to our station, because we have to determine, you know, if there is any criminal intent there, or if they're, you know, just where the individual's coming from.
Absolutely. Romulus and the airport, and the different. You were the president of the Chiefs of Police. What is your communications with the surrounding areas, and the other chiefs of police, and you know, and how does that relate with actual airport security?
Well, we are all part of a mutual aid group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we have a major problem at the airport, you know, we're going to call upon the mutual aid pack that we have with all the area departments. And it's the same thing. Dearborn, for instance, exercised the mutual aid pack. I think it was a year or two ago when that Jerry Jones came in, Reverend Jerry Jones. So we're all going to back each other up.
Terry Jones, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Terry
Jones, yeah.
Jerry,
yeah.
Same thing.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But so, you know, we're all part of that mutual aid. And then the Wayne County Chiefs, we meet once a month. We have an executive board. We're interested in what proposed laws are being suggested in Lansing. We offer our opinion on anything that, you know, that has to do that is going to affect law enforcement in the county. The prosecutor belongs to that, Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy, who I think is just an outstanding prosecutor. And doing what she's doing with the limited resources that she has, it's you know, it's remarkable. We deal with the sheriff, everybody. So I mean, you know, the law enforcement community is really a very close-knit community, and whenever possible, you know, we're going to assist another department. If another department's got a request, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna bend over backwards to try to meet that request.
You know, economically speaking, police forces have been cut. Exactly, throughout the state, and that has been a major issue, especially within the city of Detroit and the services that they're getting. How does that affect you, and what is your opinion on that? I mean, for me, it's health and security, and those are the two things that really, you know, create a solid state, a solid, you know, county, a solid city, and those seem to be being cut more so. What's your take on that?
Well, it's, you know, it's the old thing, you have to do more with less. You know, you have to do more with less. Well, there comes a point in time where you do less with less. I mean, that's just the way it is. And, you know, some of these budgets have just been cut to the bone. And, you know, we've had some substantial cuts at the airport as well.
How does that affect security? I mean, it's an obvious question, but I mean, logistically speaking, you're right in there. I mean, you know, when you have issues, what do you do with not having the tools that you need and you know, the force that you need to pay attention to these things?
Well,
what gets cut?
Yeah, well, you know, my department is really a good-sized department, you know, because I have K-9 officers. Mm-hmm. I've got, you know, a number of K-9 officers. I also have EOD, which is explosive ordnance disposal. We have a full SRU team, you know, a SWAT team. You know, so we're well set. That's not to say I certainly couldn't use some more officers, because I certainly could. But, you know, law enforcement in general has been really cut to the quick, and it's a problem. I mean, you know, when you start looking at budgets, like, you know, what's going on in the county now, you know, the prosecutor's office has been cut drastically.
Yes, I know.
You know, you've got the sheriff's department that's been cut drastically. You got guys working 12, 16 hours, continuously. That's not healthy. Inkster, Inkster is going to dissolve.
Well, the chief of police there resigned because he didn't feel he had the tools to actually do his job correctly, and that's a shame. That really is.
Yeah. So my personal opinion is that these governments have to start looking at, hey, what is a mandated service? What do we really need to provide? When your house is on fire, you expect to pick up the telephone and call the fire department, and the fire department responds. If your house is being vandalized or broken into, you expect a police officer. If you're having a heart attack, you expect an ambulance to come in. If somebody's arrested breaking into your house, you expect a prosecutor to be able to prosecute them. You expect your garbage to be picked up once a week. You expect your water to run. These are all mandated services.
Sure.
And those have to be funded, and they have to be funded properly. And then everything else is extra. If you're willing to pay for that, then fine. But, you've got some core mandated services that a city needs to provide, that are life-threatening, life-saving services, and, those have to be funded first. And then the nice things, your pet projects and this and that, then, what that particular city is willing to pay for, then fine. But, at the airport, we don't receive tax money. We are paid for, our budget is paid for by the airlines. So.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
okay.
We're run by a 7-member authority board.
Right.
And we submit a budget every year to the airlines. And that's what, that's where we derive our funding from. That and non-airline revenue.
Okay, so the City of Romulus Police Department is not through tax base?
No. Oh, no, the City of Romulus
is,
yeah.
So
See, we're completely
itself.
separate from the City of Romulus as far as police go.
Okay.
We'll back each other up because we share borders and everything.
But I'm sure you work very closely with the City of Romulus, given the proximity.
Yeah. Yes. Like I said, we'll back them up, but not as closely as people would think. We just we're more concerned with what's actually going on within the airport grounds property. Our fenced-in area. That's our major area of responsibility. Not to say that we don't enforce traffic on the roads surrounding the airport, because we do. And we also have Willow Run Airport, which is, in Van Buren Township in Washtenaw County.
Right.
So we also maintain police services for Willow Run.
We talked a little bit about guns and how people forget about their guns and going in through the airport. Gun control has been such a subject and a concept and something that's been debated, through the years. I know where I stand. I had a conversation with one of my colleagues earlier about this, and I'm just not an NRA at all, and I don't think that guns really belong in the hands of individuals, and especially criminals. So I'm definitely for gun control and taking that privilege away, I guess, which is one of our amendments. But I really see the crime, children having guns, child-on-child crime, and it's just gotten so out of control. What are your thoughts on gun control and really being able, and security and policing, the area with an open gun policy?
Well, as far as policing, it'd be nice if just the police had guns, but of course,
I agree with you.
That's not going to be the situation, and people have they have a constitutional right to carry guns under certain circumstances. That's an argument that there's pros and cons on both sides. I'll be honest, the ones that really drive me up a wall are these people that are they'll just decide to stand on the road with a rifle, or they'll walk down the street with a rifle, or these open carry people. They want to open carry in schools, and they want to for the life of me, I can't see any sense in that at all. you're basically scaring people and alarming people needlessly. You know, if you have a CPL license, you know, there's certain restrictions to that license, and you should be following, you know,
those guidelines.
Those guidelines to have that CPL. I mean, you're required by law to do that. But these open carry advocates, it just makes no sense to me. And people that have a history of mental illness and, you know.
Our background checks are not.
You know, those things, I mean, if people are exhibiting, you know, behavioral problems, they should not have access to guns, period. And I think that's borne out in, you know, these terrible massacres that we have every now and then.
In the schools.
Yeah, and I mean, it's people that have, you know, so many of them have had obvious problems, and they still have access to guns. You know, that's something I think that really has to be looked at.
There was a conversation to actually have guns in the schools, have the teachers carry the guns in their desks and what have you. I mean, to me, that was going way over the top. I mean, I understand that there's, you know, violence in the schools, and now we have the, you know, some of the security, you know, stations where the kids go through and, you know, make sure that there's no, you know, metal detectors and what have you. What's your take on that? I mean, you're talking about security, safety, and teachers being able to defend themselves and their students, but yet, I mean, that goes way over the line in terms of, you know, what's acceptable. But logically speaking, you know, you're talking about security, but how do you sort of balance that out?
Well, you know, obviously I'm not in favor of arming every teacher, but, you know, in these school type incidents, you know, somebody comes into the school and they, you know, they start shooting. Well, we're not going to get there
in time,
you know, for, you know, 5-10 minutes. I mean, you know, it's just, you know, unless we really get lucky. And once we do get there, these situations are usually taken care of right away. But, you know, I just wish that somebody would be there to make a defense against these people for that until we're able to get there. But, you know, on the
and that's why it's you know,
I mean, it's a complicated question. It's definitely got pros and cons on both issues. But, you know, it'd be nice to have a police officer in every school. But there again, you go back to money. You can't, you know, school districts aren't going to, you know. But they have increased their security at schools as far as letting strangers in and, you know, that sort of thing. And it's you know, as President of Wayne County Chiefs, I know that local departments, you know, communicate very closely with schools and have plans to respond and that sort of thing to any types of emergencies. So,
you know, even you know, with my thought process, I almost think, you know, especially within, you know, some of our school districts, maybe having one localized, you know, security measure makes a little bit of sense, you know, rather than arming all the teachers. So, you know, exactly what you said, even though I'm against, you know, having guns, but I think there's got to be a protection issue too. So I would definitely think about that. And it's common sense. So that's why, you know, there's sort of an imbalance there in terms of, you know, protection and civil liberties and the whole 9 yards. But very, I think a conversation that will continue for quite a long time. The legalization of marijuana, and of course for medical purposes. Now, do you come across any kind of issues within the airport where people legally are allowed to carry this and travel with it, or has that not been an issue?
You know, it really hasn't been a major issue. It was, you know, when the law was first put into effect, there were problems with it because people didn't have cards, they didn't bring their cards with them, you know, that sort of thing. So, and the law was a little bit ambiguous to begin with, but that has really kind of leveled off.
We can talk forever, and I probably have another million questions for you, but we have to say goodbye at this point, and I want to thank you so much for joining me on Community Connection. Chief Edward Glomb, man of many hats, and someone who has our security at at the realm of his day. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for joining us on Community Connection, your window to the world around you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me. I
Thank
enjoyed
you.